All right, welcome back to the Empty Gallery gang. So, in this episode, me and Dan talk to my old friend Charlie George. Now, this is our longest episode yet, an hour and a half, so I'm not kidding when I introduce Charlie as a man of many talents and interests. But here on the Empty Gallery, we value your time, so if you check the video description, there are timestamps of the various topics that we discuss, from the AI singularity to Charlie's work in animation, coding, and VR, and beyond. We've put a lot more work into the visuals this time around, so we did the interview over Zoom so that Charlie could screen share and show us exactly what he's been up to. And I've also gone back and edited in clips and images to better visualize what we're discussing. So sit back, work on that piece of work you've been ignoring for the last couple of months, like and subscribe, and we hope you enjoy. Okay, welcome back, guys, to the Empty Gallery show. After a Dan, we've had like a month break since the last episode.
Yeah, we had about a month
and
break.
Yeah, so me and Dan break. Oh, no, I had to work on my triptych, which is fast becoming a meme of the show. In that it's taking a long time to finish, but that's just like all of my work, so it's fine. Yeah, it's not really Empty Gallery podcast anymore, is it, Dan? Me and Dan have been talking about the show. It started off the first 3 episodes, me and Dan just sort of discussing creative topics. And then we did an interview with our friend Aria Kiane, who's a painter.
An artist.
Artist or painter. And creativity and art is a very visual medium, so it kind of makes more sense for this to be a YouTube channel where you actually get to see what we're talking about. There's a lot of art podcasts out there, isn't there? Like, Dan, what's the one with the two really fancy people in London?
Talk
art, and they'll bring in people where they've got like somebody who's exhibiting in the White Cube or something, and they'll be talking about their work. And then I think the idea is that you have it open in one window, and then you Google the person to see their work in like another window, or like you Google it on your phone or whatever, and then you can see what they're kind of talking about. But why not just show on the screen? You know?
I think that podcast is actually just an audio podcast, though.
Yeah.
But anyway, like,
so really, we're the Empty Gallery YouTube show now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Hopefully, the gallery will stay closed for another 300 years. Anyway, let's introduce who's our guest, Henry.
So, as always, I'm joined by my right-hand man, Dan. But we've brought in another guest for this episode against his will. We've got him tied up in my basement, and we've been being him for a long time.
Say that.
I can't say that. I gotta say that. Okay, so we've got my right-hand man, Dan, the painter, as always, and this time we've brought in my friend Charlie. Me and Charlie actually did animation together at university for a bit.
Yep. Hello, guys.
But Charlie is really a man of many talents these days. So Charlie.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah. So Charlie, what are you currently working on?
Okay. Yeah. So a man of many talents. Yes. Too many. Having too many projects. Talking about time deficits and stuff as well. It's not always an advantage, is it? To
I can relate. I'm someone who kind of gets his fingers stuck in a lot of pies. Like, I've got like the gym 3 days a week. I'm learning to code. I'm working on like a painting.
Why?
I also have a Warhammer army. Don't tell
wow,
me.
Really?
Don't tell any of the girls that listen to the show. And yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean, I have a few things going on. Okay, so I was going to try and screen share some of the stuff. I actually have some things I could show you, which might be a bit more exciting than me just talking about technical stuff. But to maybe preface it, one of my recent projects is a virtual reality project to do with some sort of like local heritage stuff. There was a local tramway that got shut down, I think it might have even been going until the 1960s, but there was a famous race between a local legend, Arthur Hitchcock, and the tram. So Arthur Hitchcock was an old chimney sweep, and he would commute from Wantage to Grove, the town next door, which is like 2 miles away. And they thought it was appropriate at the time to have a tram because it joined up to the Great Western Railway. And so, yeah, I've done a few little exhibitions at my local museum years ago, like going back like 7 or so years ago when I was at uni, actually. But more recently, I thought, why don't I apply like a virtual reality take on that whole thing? And so I try and screen share now if I can.
This museum space, Charlie, me and Dan have done exhibitions in the past. We did one back in 2017 at a space in Cambridge. That was our liminal show, and I think it was like 250 quid for a weekend. And that was in like July. That was a really nice show. Like the weather was really nice, and the space was great as well. And it was 5 of us, so we split the cost between 5 of us. Right. And then we did a show in 2018 in London at Lewisham Art House, but that was like £200 for like a whole week, and we split the cost between like 5 people.
Do you get any of the like admissions, like a cut from that, or
we would have got a cut if we sold anything, but no one ever buys anything.
Okay.
But this space that you were showing in, like, did they charge you, or was it kind of like a free space? Like, how open were they to?
Yeah, well, before obviously it was just like an art like exhibitions. I think it was like some like random local company that was like funding it, because obviously these things cost money to get people together, like managers and stuff, event managers. But we weren't making money off of it. We were just like local artists, kind of, giving, giving something back to the community, like as it were, just having a little bit of, artistic input. And for a good cause, because a lot of that heritage is lost, isn't it? I mean, I don't know about you, but where we live in Wantage, there's so many houses going up. Local development it's just massive. Between here and Didcot, they're thinking about, even joining up the 2 towns. It's getting so big. So it's important to not lose track of local history, I think. Because,
100%. Did they like charge for entry then at this museum?
Did they? No, I think it's open, but because it was at a museum, I think they recommend to have like a donation or something.
Oh, that's right.
So yeah, that's the way it works, really. But sorry.
And they didn't charge you to exhibit or anything?
No, not really. No, I mean, at this time they might, but I'm planning on having like a virtual thing, like online.
Yeah.
So I've got an example on Facebook I can show you. Shall I screen share?
Like a virtual exhibition, like the ones that are all the craze at the moment. Yeah. No one can open. Everyone's doing virtual exhibitions where you can you can move around the space and stuff as well, can't you?
Mm.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And that's another thing I'll show you online with my website.
We're looking at Blender.
Okay. Yeah. This is Blender. So I'll just play it quickly.
Whoa.
If I stop that, is that okay now? It was just playing. It might be a lot for it to stream. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think there's just I think there's a little bit of a time delay, but I think that's normal with streaming.
Okay. So,
dude, that looks sick.
So basically, yeah. So here's the tram. Sorry, guys, I'm not really explaining this very well. So
no. Me and Dad are just like, whoa.
This was modelled by someone else. Actually, a friend of mine from school.
From UCA.
No, from Wantage Secondary School. Yeah.
Nice.
But basically, Wantage Tramway Company. So you go in here and basically you can look around. But I'll show you what that looks like rendered as a 360 sort of fake virtual reality video. I go on to Facebook, screen share. Let me see, Chrome. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Hopefully this doesn't get all buggy again. So you can look around.
You can actually go inside the car, yeah. Did you ever play the first Half-Life game? Or Half-Life 2? Both of them start inside a train cart, and it reminds me of this.
Oh wow, yeah. So I mean, maybe I was inspired by that subconsciously. I can't remember.
Yeah, I bet you were. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the short and long of it. Basically, render it out as a 360 video, and it works on Facebook. It's quite cool, and it's kind of like AR. You can move your phone around, and it will move the camera around in the virtual space. It's not quite AR, but it's the same sort of principle where you're having a physical change of movement, and it affects the virtual space. Yeah, so that's that.
That's wicked.
Let me think. Yeah, I'm trying to remember was there anything else?
Are you going to work from sort of old photographs from the time in terms of making like the scenery outside the train and stuff?
Yeah, I want to.
Yeah.
But I think to begin with, just as like a pilot test, I want to try and just get something functional up and running. And
yeah, that's like a massive project in terms of making all the models and stuff.
Yeah. And I think the inside of the carriage, the carriage here needs to have a little bit more work.
Yeah.
Because that's just a rough. Yeah, this is actually a 3D model from a 3D print. Because my friend Joe helping me on this, he's like a train enthusiast, and he has all these models printed out. So the inside is something that he didn't really get down exactly. So that's kind of up to me now to take that over and make it like historically accurate.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's that one.
In terms of doing like the texture work inside and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to take a little bit. A little bit more work. I don't know how technical you want me to go on these things, but I can show you an example of how I would have to do that. Oh yeah, so this is what it looks like at the moment with all the sort of polygons.
Yeah, and I guess there's the slats on the seats and stuff.
Yeah, like the slats on the seat. It's all sort of, there's loads. So retopology is in order. But yeah, it's going to be a while to get that all sorted.
God, that's amazing.
What's this a model? Is that a model of something that like a tram in Wantage? Is that Wantage? Is that?
Yes. So this
a real tram.
Yeah. So this was a real tram. I could try and get some references for you. So this was Jane, number 5, the engine, and I think there was, or it might have been Shannon, but they've swapped them around a couple of times. So it's all sort of historically accurate. These really did exist, and it must have been pretty cool to just jump on the tram, and it's only like 2 miles down the road to the train station. And yeah, it sounds quite fun, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's not like Europe. Like trams are kind of commonplace in like Amsterdam and stuff, and Berlin and stuff. But yeah, you never really got many of them in this country.
Yeah. Yeah. So here we go. So this is my friend Joe who's helping me out, and this is the physical.
Has he 3D printed that?
Yeah, so this is a 3D print. So I just got
a look. Wicked.
Yeah, so this is what it looks like. Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of controversy in the Warhammer community at the moment because 3D printing is catching up with the models that Games Workshop produce. So people are just like starting to make their own models and like completely undercut them. And Games Workshop are kind of like it costs them pennies to make the models, but they sell them for like a massive markup. So it's communism in action.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, communism in action, and also sort of that kind of, I don't know if it's democracy, but what's the opposite of communism, where everyone just gets to
being a libertarian?
Yeah, basically. I mean, everyone's a communist. Like, I don't know, everyone's everyone can make a startup nowadays.
That's that's amazing. There's a real future in those virtual reality experiences in terms of like a historical context. Imagine being able to go to like a museum and put on a VR headset and like see like medieval battles, like like the rise of like the Mongolian Empire and stuff.
Absolutely.
and like the kind of the like crazy warfare tactics they used, where they used to kind of like run the enemy until they like got tired and then shoot them from either side with arrows on horseback and stuff. Like being able to like be in these historical settings. Yeah, there's a huge feature in there,
Yeah, that was a big draw for me for virtual reality, not so much AR, but virtual reality when you're completely immersed. is obviously experiential learning. So
Yeah.
you can learn through experiencing, you know, especially history, where you can accurately, like, you know, photographically represent exactly the actions and the environment, and even like the smell. Now they have these other devices that you can clip on, you know, and replicate, you know, these synthetic smells. And that's, you know, that's giving a much more truer representation, obviously, just than reading a book. So I think for education, virtual reality is going to be a big thing. Not so much, maybe for gaming too, but I don't know. I think education is going to be really good.
Yeah, and historically, schools have always had trouble kind of teaching history in a way that kids will actually care about it, sort of thing. So virtual reality is a great way of kind of getting the kids interested, and like just making history more interesting. I was just trying to think. There's an illustrator, and he does comics, like sort of historical comics, which are really good. Yeah, if I can name drop him, Gareth Hines. He started out doing concept art for computer games. But it's like it's Homer's epic, the Odyssey,
right.
But it's like in comic book form, so it's like massive. It's like absolutely huge. But again, like
that's huge.
Yeah, again, he brings them into schools, and it's another way of kind of like visually communicating history, making history more of like a visual subject, because it's actually quite like an unvisual thing in terms of it all being kind of written down in history books, and the only way to like communicate it to kids would be, you know, bring in artifacts or I think we had these two people dress up as like Romans and do like a reenactment in our school. But VR just like opens up a huge world.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. That's what people. That's why they have this thing against VR, because it's isolating. What we should be doing, you know, role playing, actually acting with other people, and that's the crossover. That's where AR comes in. So you can still see people, but you can have all these extra elements added in. But yeah, I mean, virtual reality with social platforms. I don't know if you've tried like high fidelity or heard of like VR chat or anything like that.
Is that basically just VR but with like a chat attached, or
because I mean the whole thing is like you wouldn't obviously have to have a chat message like attached. You'll be actually chatting to people in VR, and the beauty of that is if you have like hand trackers on your hands and feet and one on your hips, you can literally like communicate all body language pretty much, because obviously you have these like virtual avatars rigged up to, you know, skeletons with like virtual bones and stuff. And obviously, I don't know if you remember from animation, inverse kinesthetics.
The principles of like the movements of the human body.
Yeah,
wasn't it? Yeah.
And so obviously with 3D stuff, the computer does that for you, but it can predict obviously where your elbow is based on sort of, you know, the rotation of your wrist or something. I don't know. I mean, there's fine-tuned things that it can't quite predict, but it's really amazing. If you should really try any of the social VR platforms. And the first time I tried it, like I looked at someone, and this is just relating back to the thing when you mentioned about role playing, because they actually had a virtual camera and recorded a TV series in a virtual social VR platform. It was in high fidelity, and so you can, as long as you've got all the full body trackers, you can basically make full-on movements and have like eye tracking and stuff, and it's all completely basically like acting but virtually.
So spooky, so spooky.
Yeah, it's cool, man. But
it's like you can have movie nights with your friends and like not even be there, you know.
Yeah, they have an app for that too.
maybe next time we get hit by a pandemic, VR will be like more affordable for people, and people will just be like, don't even need the human contact, bro. I got my VR headset. We're just gonna have movie nights in a virtual space.
Yeah, I think that's happening a little bit. I think Zoom, like you say, has become a bit more popular.
Yeah, if you can see how much like Zoom's just like taking off so much.
Still can't see it being preferable though.
Yeah,
no.
It'll never be quite the same. But
would it ever be? Would virtual reality ever be preferable to like reality? I mean, because that's something I've thought about watching something like Blade Runner and watching sci-fi films. I was thinking, virtual reality, could it ever be preferable over like reality? Like how far in the future would that be? Yeah, my point on the Matrix is sort of like there was this theory on Reddit, and just like fan theory, someone was saying that the robots were doing us a favor, and that it was actually a preferred way of existence, compared to like being in real life.
Charlie, you've seen the Matrix, haven't you?
Yeah, I was thinking that's relevant to the Matrix film, because in real life, in the Matrix film, obviously AI has taken over, hasn't it? And it's like a living hell on earth kind of thing. The sky's black and everything else. But obviously, like you say, real life is in this reality.
Have either of you ever watched Joe Rogan, where he's had Elon Musk on talking about AI, or Sam Harris talking about AI?
Yes,
and they talk about the AI. What do they call it? The AI where it begins to like teach itself.
Okay.
They're pretty frightened about it.
Yeah, they're super duper frightened about it, and they've got a word for it, but I can't. It'll come back to me. Come back to me anyway. But one worry is like AI will become self-aware, and then it'll be able to teach itself faster and faster and faster and faster and faster.
Oh, the singularity, you mean?
Singularity, yeah, the AI singularity. So eventually it'll be able to teach itself stuff so fast that it'll learn everything it needs to know in like a few hours and become like a god. Yeah. And then people are either worried it's going to wipe out the whole human race, or it might turn into kind of like a caretaker. Like in the Matrix, the robots are really kind of like caretakers for the human race. They got these like humans around. They're like, what do we do with them? It's like, let's like put them in this simulation basically, where all their needs are kind of taken care of. So I reckon that's probably where it's going to go. I think it's like having like a pet, like having your dog. You take your dog for walks and you feed them and stuff. But we'll be like the dog, and the machines will be like us. They'll just kind of like take care of our needs, kind of give us a pat on the head every once in a while. Meanwhile, the robots will be out there exploring the universe and actually doing stuff.
Yeah. I think, well, this is why Elon Musk wants to have that tertiary layer, and something what Ray Kurzweil, a futurologist, talks about a lot. Adding AI to our current, obviously, cortex and limbic system, they work in tandem. And obviously it forms this like illusion of consciousness. People talk about like spirit or souls, or I don't want to offend anyone and get religious on this, but obviously there's, we won't even mention religion or God or anything, because
that's like another rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's another whole conversation. But in regards to what we do know, the idea of consciousness, scientists still haven't identified where it resides exactly. Like I think, was it the hippocampus at the top of the spinal cord, like, which basically is the interaction between our limbic system and our sensory systems, nervous systems, all the rest of our organs and our entire body and our brain. There's that little two-way system I think it's the hippocampus anyway. And I think if consciousness resides anywhere, it's going to be around that area. But then it's like a mixture, isn't it? It's a mixture of our hands and our eyes and all of our different senses,
and like memories to a certain extent, but then people can lose their memories, can't they? And they still have a lot of the same mannerisms.
Yeah. So without, sorry, I've gone off on a massive tangent again, but
that's how we do on the show, Dan. Don't we go off on mad tangents on the show, don't we?
But going back to Elon Musk and having a Neuralink basically as this tertiary AI layer, once we figure out consciousness, which is how I think Elon Musk, I don't know if you've heard of this, but he's trying to implant sort of like microchips in.
Yeah, that's a recent thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and like obviously use AI to sort through patterns and figure out which patterns determine which types of thoughts you can have, and then that can determine being able to control robots and stuff with our arms, and all this kind of thing. And if that's the case, then we will sort of join with artificial intelligence, and it won't become this thing like in the Matrix where it's like babysitting us, or just completely taking over the world. We'll actually be working with it. It will become part of us. And I think that's a
Yeah.
really good thing to try and work towards, rather than, doom and gloom, like, that sort of thing. I don't know.
Mm.
There's
It sounds
Yeah.
way more fun. It sounds way more
Yeah.
fun.
Mhm.
He
So I
wants to
can't wait.
he wants to kind of pass all kinds of laws and stuff to curtail artificial intelligence, doesn't he? Um,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
it's basically like in layman terms like the development of the next nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you don't want some rogue state somewhere to like invent the new nuclear bomb, and then all the other countries are like, oh fuck,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
now we're completely fucked.
I think that was one of the analogies. But I think with a lot of technology, even with AI, even if they do call it like a singularity point where it does actually exponentially grow more powerful, it's still going to be something like like a hardware thing, like people say, but you can't just turn off the internet,
Mm.
because society basically is running off of the internet. What if we didn't have, like, people were saying, what if we had this lockdown 10 years ago, or 20 years ago? We wouldn't stand a chance of communicating. I think mobile phones even came out, these massive battery packs. What was that, like 20 years ago or something?
Yeah, remember our parents? My parents had like those ring phones where you like stick your finger in it and you
Yeah.
dial
Oh,
a number by
really?
ringing it around. Yeah, everyone would just be like ringing each other all the time. And back then, like phone bills were like a thing, weren't they? Like I don't think you got free calls back then, did you? So
Oh yeah, the
people would.
phone bill. I
I
remember
imagine
that.
people would just be putting themselves in like shit tons of debt with all these phone bills and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
Nah, you don't.
Exactly.
I remember phone bills very clearly.
yeah. Like in our time, it was a text, wasn't it? Like everyone tried to get all the information on a single text because every page cost a few more pennies or something.
Yeah, I
Back
remember those times.
on the Nokias and stuff. Yeah,
Yes, I do remember that.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember that.
Anyway,
Oh,
yeah, no, interesting stuff. Interesting stuff.
yeah.
We could talk about that forever. You know what? I think I'm gonna link to those Joe Rogan Experience episodes in the comments box for anybody who's interested.
Mm.
But going back to your CGI work, Charlie, that tram car, do you something like that? I wonder if you could get funding for it to really flesh it out.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
are a couple of things I've looked into. One of my friends, Lucia, she's she sent me a couple of links, but I haven't even looked at it recently because of the lockdown. I'm not sure if it's going ahead still. They might have delayed it till next year, which would be good.
of
Um,
course. I bet arts funding is just kind of like being slashed and totaled at the moment. I've got a friend who works at a theatre in London, but they've basically they've all but sacked him. I feel really bad for him. But
right.
it just goes to show how like savaged the art sector is being by the lockdown.
Yeah, definitely. It's suffered all throughout, like education as well, hasn't it? All parts of society, like arts, kind of. We're lucky if we get, these monuments. We used to have all these like stone sculptures and stuff, didn't we? But nowadays, I don't know. We get the odd bit of art funding for things here and there, but it sort of takes a bit of a back burner position sometimes.
Yeah, few and far between. Yeah, yeah. Those monuments are gonna be 3D printed one day.
Yeah, exactly.
100%, 100% they are.
Or
100%.
torn down.
They'll get torn down. They'll just get 3D printed again the next day.
Well, actually,
And
this is a really good point. Where was it? A chapel that it was really famous chapel, cathedral or something. Where was it? It got burnt down. It had like a random fire, and they lost like a lot of the structural integrity of it, and they had to actually pull down basically, well, a lot of it, and rebuild it.
Yeah.
And I think just before they did it, they managed to 3D scan it with like lidar scans and photogrammetry techniques to preserve it, just like this sort of local heritage stuff that I'm interested in, to preserve it digitally. So if you ever want to revisit it or reconstruct it, you don't just have to work with photographs. You've got a literally like a digital twin, they call it, and I think that's really important. But again, it's like the whole thing with Mars, going back to Elon Musk, uh, going to Mars, and using Mars as a backup, where what we should be doing, even though that's just a rough idea, people interpret it like that, is, why don't we put all this funding into fixing our planet first? Why are we putting funding into like NASA going to the moon, for example? I think that was like $30 billion at the time in 1960, early 1960s, wasn't it? Why are we doing that? Why don't we fix our planet first, clean up plastic and all these other things?
That's purely to compete with Russia. That was like purely for political reasons.
Yes.
I've been listening.
Yeah.
I've been listening to an audiobook on the early NASA, and Russia was already like really far ahead. And this guy is one of the NASA controllers on the ground, and he goes to it just started out as basically like a warehouse, and none of these American guys knew what the fuck they were doing, and like so many rocket explosions and stuff, and lots of problems like establishing the organization and like establishing like the hierarchy, and loads of trial and error and stuff. Yeah, but it's so NASA was like such a fucking hodgepodge last minute, like it was like purely for political reasons to compete with Russia.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But going out to space is also important for other reasons besides competing with Russia, isn't it?
Oh yeah, now we know it is, but back then it
was like a big race to sort of beat. Yeah,
to beat the communists. Yeah. That was the driving force. It's kind of like humans are kind of I want to say like humans are thick, but they always need some kind of like motive, some kind of driving force.
There's always this new frontier.
I'm sure we could have come up with electric cars like a lot sooner if like oil wasn't so easy.
They were thinking about 100 or so years ago. There was a battle between electric and there was a battle between various different types of car. And oil won, but they were fighting over it.
Yeah, and going back onto like the global warming thing, like you were saying, like caring for the planet and stuff. It's the care isn't there. Like my dad was saying, he doesn't think anything will happen with global warming until India is completely underwater. And we've got like dead bodies like washing up on the shore on like Bournemouth Beach, and then people will be like, "Oh,
that's it." Yeah, until
we better start doing something about this.
Only when things get so bad.
Yeah, it's like stuff has to get bad before.
Literally.
We actually do anything, and that's kind of like the limitation.
I think with global warming, it'll be too late. Yeah. It'll be too late.
That's like the limitation of being a human. Like we give ourselves like loads of credit, but we have we've got massive shortcomings that we just kind of overlook. We're like, it's not a big deal. But really, it is a big deal,
Yeah.
Until an AI takes over, and then the AI won't have these shortcomings. It'll be able to forward plan. Like humans, like we can only forward plan like fucking, I don't know, like 20 years.
Yeah.
That's crap in like the scale of the universe. Like you think how old the universe is, like us forward planning 20 years. That's pathetic. That's like a couple of seconds.
How many robots? How many machines do you reckon will be? Like, do you reckon government will be run by AI? How many machines?
I kind of hope it will.
I might sound completely naive here. And also, like, will it be like a king AI or will it be like a government? I don't know.
Yeah. I kind of hope it will, because I think like an AI will obviously be able to control the stock market better and like do governance better. It'll be able to consider like way more variable, like basically be able to consider like unlimited variables.
Yeah, totally.
Whereas we're like just stuck in these.
But I think this is what Elon Musk's afraid of, though, is that like what if it makes a decision that we don't like?
Yeah. This is
and then also it can also overpower you pretty easily. We wouldn't be able to protest against AI.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, this comes up in the short story collection. Is it do robots dream of electric sheep?
I've heard of this.
Apparently, there's a story in there where the machine, like the world is controlled by AI, and then the decisions it's making are so completely infeasible to the humans that they can't even protest against them, because they're like, we don't know why it's doing this, but we just assume it's for the best. So you might there might be like whole countries starving, but the computers decided that's worth part of the population dying so that the other part of the population
that is the trouble.
I overall I'm with Musk on the thing. I'm pretty frightened of it. I'm the type of person though who wants to go back 100 years and live away from the city. I'm not like a huge fan of like technology that much, although I appreciate that it's like improved the quality of living. I think AI is. I think it's going to be pretty dangerous unless someone does something about it. And which is why I'm following what Elon Musk says quite closely. Not too closely, but I think what he's trying to do is good, because otherwise it's just going to be out of control. And I do kind of worry about it. I don't worry about it, but you know what I mean. In discussion, yeah, it's something I'm concerned about.
I don't know. Have you seen some of the AI abstract paintings that are being made by like machines and stuff?
Yeah, I don't like them.
I'll have to put them up on the screen, but like a lot of the time it's pretty hit and miss. But when it hits,
no, I do like them. I'm just jealous. I'm just jealous.
When they get, a lot of them are like crap, but when it gets a hit, like they're really
they're not bad.
Yeah, they're not bad at all. Yeah, it's just like fucking hell. It's
encroaching
into our territory.
Oh man, like, I can't believe it. I actually saw them like last week, and it's just like I just couldn't believe. It was a bit of a shock. I was just like, oh.
Can you get some up on screen share?
I'll if you can find some Charlie.
Are we getting off topic? Shall we get back onto topic about Charlie's work?
Oh yes, that was kind of my fault again, going off on the tangent.
Oh no, that's all right. I don't think AI is even relevant. We were talking about virtual reality, and then it went to AI. Here's the thing I find with the AI.
This is the show. This is the show. We love going up on tangents.
Yeah,
it's fun.
The problem with the AI paintings is that they're sort of. I don't think that they're. It's missing a sort of human. What's it? Interpretation. I don't like the idea of, like, it's been interpreted by a machine. I'm not quite educated enough to understand what that means, or what that represents, or what the machine's even thinking. And a lot of these pictures, they look like kind of abstraction for the sake of abstraction, and not
100% they are, and
not abstraction because of feeling or something. It's just because the machine. I don't understand.
And can you even call it like a painting as well? It's more like a collage, because the one I was looking at, it was a machine, and it was going through a library of paintings, and it was just collaging existing elements together and kind of like blurring bits and stuff like that. So yeah, really more of like just a random like collage. You need like an artificial intelligence, like a proper artificial intelligence, like we were talking about behind it.
Every machine is going to be, isn't it going to be? What decides? How does it know what kind of artwork to make? How does it know what colors to use? I have no education in this area whatsoever. A lot of it goes way over my head.
That's going back to the singularity that Henry mentioned. It is that there will be a point where it can make decisions for itself. I mean, that's actually the definition of an algorithm, is something that can actually perform a task without having to be told what to do. Like Alan Turing, who designed the first electric computer, because obviously we had abacuses and stuff. We've had those things, certain devices, for thousands of years to make simple mathematic calculations. But the first computers, electrical computers, he saw a problem trying to solve the enigma in World War II, and he didn't break the code. He designed a computer, an electric computer that could break the code through using algorithms. So the algorithms learned, through a process of processing data. It might have taken a long time, but eventually they learned to see the patterns, which is how the human mind has evolved. We see patterns and things, and we're just a biological outcome of natural selections instead of a logical outcome of a brain. It's like goes from, I think, single-celled organisms to multi-celled organisms to intelligent life. If you can draw a distinction between humans and, I don't know, dogs or dolphins, I don't think there's that much of a distinction, because it's all just frequencies going through biological material. But then the next step is just a synthetic version of that, but just because it's man-made doesn't make it any less of a natural evolution. So you could argue, what's the difference between, talking about pictures, the robot's done it, but we designed a robot. So it's just a natural extension of our own expression, but done in a, mechanical way.
is the robot going to make art for us or for themselves though? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what I was just thinking,
Yeah.
what kind of artwork is a robot going to make if it's making it just for its own? Is it going to make art for pleasure, you know, like as a leisurely activity? And
Okay.
what kind of ideas would it be interested in, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Only when it becomes like truly like when it becomes like a truly like singularity AI.
What
But
if it's got political art?
but
What kind of political art would it make,
but the
if
whole
any?
yeah, and the whole
Yeah.
idea
Yeah.
the whole idea of the singularity is it's not going to be like multiple different AIs. It's all going to be like the same one, like a worldwide singularity AI through the internet.
Yeah.
Like humans are individuals. We're massively cut off from each other. That's why we make art, to kind of like sort of like almost like communicate and impress each other.
That's it. Yeah.
But this God AI, it's got nobody to impress because you know. Yeah, I mean, like
Will
the
there
question
be
question
hierarchies? Will there be hierarchies within the AI
within it, yeah.
population?
The question is like, if a human was on a desert island completely alone, would it make art for itself? Would it,
Yes.
yeah, I think I probably would. For something to do, yeah, just for something
I
to do.
feel like I'm on an island by myself making art just for myself, to be honest, sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. So we kind of answered that question, to be honest. Yeah, it probably would make art, just for something to do, so you don't get bored.
I mean, all machines as well, they're all going to be just as talented as each other, perhaps. It's not like now, it's like some people are like, oh, you know, born with this sort of gift ability to draw. They're all going to be possibly just as certain as each other. Whereas now you ask certain people like, oh, why don't you, a lot of people don't make art because they don't think they can. And
Yeah,
they don't believe that they I hear this all the time. Oh, I'm not a creative person. It's just, which I think is a bit of a cop out, but
yeah, it's a massive cop out.
I think that that's just sort of like not being interested in it as well.
But humans, if you call us an algorithm, we're not even a very good algorithm. You know, we're like a pretty shit algorithm. You know, like
Yeah.
yeah, we pee and we pee and have sex out of the same hole and shit, man. Like, who the fuck came out?
Yeah.
Who the fuck came up with that idea, man? That's stupid. You know. So
It's
what?
a bit weird, isn't it?
So what happens when like it is a good algorithm? You know. What you know? I don't think this God AI is going to pee and make babies out of the same hole, for example.
Yeah. Have you seen Annihilation? Yeah. If you, I won't say any spoilers, but if you watch that, it's yeah, it moves into that territory because basically, yeah, I can't say any more than that actually.
Check it out. Check it out.
It's definitely worth a watch. It's something that you think, wow, you know, it's it's worth a watch.
Cool. Check it out. We'll link to that in the description as well. Fuck it. So Charlie, you remind me of me when I was a wee lad. No, you remind me of me now.
Yeah.
So you're a guy who has like his fingers in a lot of pies like me.
Yeah.
So would you say it's fair to say that you as a priority you pursue projects which you find like exciting? Do you ever have to make sort of hard, difficult decisions between projects and be like, oh, you know, well, I'd really like to work on this, but like I can't. I have to work on this other thing. Like, are you having that kind of dichotomy at the moment at all? Like, you're working on your VR tram car experience, but is there something else in the back of the mind that you really want to work on, but you haven't got time to do so?
Yeah. So ever since I've started my apprenticeship, so it's a 3-year software engineering apprenticeship. So
That's that's in like web development and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, web development specifically. If my apprenticeship in my workplace is for WordPress, but it's development, not design. So it's a bit of design that comes into it, but I need to know how to code basically.
Yeah.
But at college, I'm learning all these other things like Racket is the programming language, a pedagogical language for like that are used for teaching how to program instead of just like having specific syntaxes, you know, like JavaScript, you have Node.js or Next.js or React, like as a framework or library, however you want to describe it. Whereas Racket is something that you can use to basically learn how to program. So it's very, I think they call it functional programming, but basically anything to do with maths, it calculates properly, instead of some other languages that might not be like exactly true. Like in Python, it has lots of different, I think, variations of like keywords that you can use.
So it's basically like a shorthand version of coding.
Actually, yeah, a shorthand in some sense, but only to learn coding. Which actually
So
to learn coding,
to make it easier, basically, to learn.
yeah, to make it easier to understand, I think, because like a
Ah.
simple I don't know if you've done a for loop yet or a while loop.
No, I had absolutely no idea there was a push to kind of make programming languages easier for people to pick up.
Yeah,
Outside of like YouTube tutorials and stuff. Yeah, no, I am blown away by that. It's
but
such a
yeah,
good
getting
idea.
super technical again.
I mean, like,
So
I
I
guess
learned that basically. It
uh,
sometimes takes priority over personal projects. That was the point I was trying to get to, where before I'd be doing all these VR things, and now I've got all these other things to think about. I tried to tie that into my personal work. So this programming racket, for example, is nothing like JavaScript. And at first I was like, well, I need to learn JavaScript if I'm going to do web development for all these like awesome
for people like layman terms, people who are watching, JavaScript is how you get websites to actually do stuff like drop down menus and messaging and like image slideshows and stuff.
yeah. So the
Yeah,
functionality
the
of it,
functionality.
rather
Yeah,
than
yeah.
just, rather than just like the way it looks, which would
Like
be sick.
back in the 90s, it was HTML and CSS, so that's why
Yeah.
everything was just kind of like flat, and you just click links and it immediately goes there. There's no like effects, there's no like drop down menus or anything. It's just text and pictures in a box.
Yeah.
JavaScript is like the next level where you have like the more more functionality and stuff going on.
Yeah, so it brings in a lot of things like WebGL, where you can have like web VR and online platforms like VR, like VR chat and social spaces. So at first I was like, oh yeah, I've got to learn Racket, another language I'm not going to actually use ever, but actually it's really useful. So I'm actually dedicating a lot of my time to learning that at the moment, because it will help me apply that to my personal projects.
Yeah. Is the idea of Racket like eventually to be rolled out in schools to make it easier for kids to learn to code? Do you think?
Yeah, I'm learning it now as part of my college course, so it's already been used in universities, but yeah, I actually did some volunteering at my local library for Code Club,
Mm.
which was just teaching basically, how was it? I think years. They were 7 to 13 years old in this class, and that's a program called Scratch. So it's visual scripting, how to program, rather than actual specific syntaxes and stuff. So
Yeah, my girlfriend works in a school and they're using Scratch the whole time.
yeah, cool. Yeah.
Interesting, yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting to build up a bigger picture of like like different ways of learning to code in general.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to, I'm trying to tie that into my professional day job, because even with things like AR more specifically, with, I don't know if you heard, Apple are planning on bringing out some AR glasses, but that's not until like 2023 or something. So, and that's after, when it becomes mainstream, I think it's going to be like a good 10 years or so, maybe even 15, 20 years before people are walking around with glasses on, especially with cameras, because I think the first generation of AR glasses are going to be using LiDAR. So to track your environment, it will just use a LiDAR 3D scanning camera, and it won't actually be so it won't be a camera like, if you walked around now with cameras on your glasses, people are going to be like, is he recording me or not? So that's another thing that AR scares people about, because it's going to be like big brother, but apparently, hopefully anyway, not with the first generation.
Yeah, the first generation, those glasses with the Google Lens, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and it was like a bit of a visor. Yeah, I was following that when they first came out, and then I haven't really been following it. But it sounds like Apple are making a very calculated decision to get into that market once it's like really like cheap enough for consumers to buy into. Because I think the Google Lens, that was like £1,000 or something silly, wasn't it?
Oh god, yeah. I think Google Lens or Google Glass and HoloLens, Microsoft HoloLens, they're like, even for a developer kit, it's like $3,000 or something.
Here's what I found on the web.
Oops, that's my phone. Google. Wow, I didn't even realize I had that turned on. There we go. AI's taken over already.
Yeah.
So yeah, with AI, I think they're like going to bring it out like a £500 starting price.
Yeah.
Something similar to a low end mobile phone now. You know, so like so when they can justify the value for consumers, then like now, you know, you don't blink an eye at somebody with a £1,000 phone. You know, it might be on finance or contract, but it's, you know, that's still money going out. So maybe they'll bring out, you know, AR glasses on a contract or something. Who knows?
Probably.
But,
I wouldn't be surprised if everyone's paying for everything on a contract one day, including cars, TV. I mean, they do cars. I mean, stuff like TV.
That's the way the economy's going, isn't it? Everything's like
Yeah.
contract. Everyone's got contract cars they couldn't really afford, and everyone's
That's
got
been for
contract
a while, though.
phone. Everyone's got contract phones.
Yeah.
Your house is basically a
Actually,
contract. You're either paying rent or you're paying a mortgage.
yeah.
It's kind of our generation. It's gearing towards our generation because they know we've got no goddamn money. So they're like, all right, how can we extract money from these bastards? You know, like, okay, they've got money. Like they can pay by month. We'll do it that way. You know.
I was so annoyed. I was just about to buy Photoshop, and then they just announced that it was Adobe CC. So Creative Cloud subscription just came out, and I was like, damn, I just missed the boat. And it was like 350 quid for Photoshop, but now I've got to pay like, you know, monthly subscription to Adobe. Do you have Adobe like Photoshop for any of your artwork, Henry? Or
Yeah, I've been using Photoshop a lot at the moment to work out like perspective and stuff. And then my dad's got an architectural printer, so I've been drawing like perspective grids and doing a lot of like the planning and stuff in Photoshop, and then printing it out on my dad's architectural printer and drawing over it by hand because it's just easier. But yes, I have Photoshop, and I acquired it through totally legal means.
Yes, I was just reading your body language, and obviously on the podcast, you still explain.
100%, 100%,
Yeah.
100% legal means always. Anyway, moving on.
Anyway.
So Charlie, obviously you've kind of like flirted with kind of commission-based work in the past, a little bit.
Yeah, I can show you some examples of that.
In terms of like you did like a bit of like illustrative work and stuff. Like what just like it's a bit of like a kind of open general question, sorry, but kind of what's your kind of experience with kind of commission-based work as like a business model? I think a lot of people, a lot of the illustrators I see tend to get a bit fed up with it. In fact, there's somebody on Twitter, and she was like a commission illustrator by the sounds of things. And then she got bored and just set up like an OnlyFans. And she's like, well, I make more money at my OnlyFans now, so I don't do that stuff. I don't do that art stuff no more.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like just a natural progression, like out of what I used to do for commission work was basically just doing portrait work, portraits of people. And it's good for a little side hustle, but nothing like in you know what you're asking about sort of as a like a more of a business sense. But yeah, so yeah, I used to enjoy it, but there was it became like it wasn't fulfilling anymore. So you know, it all depends on like your end game. What's your end game? You know, what your current interest. If it doesn't you know, motivate you, then you know,
yeah, that's the big problem. Like it's got to be something that's you're motivated to do anyway. Wait, I had like an example. Dan, it's like you've been selling your paintings, haven't you? And
only the ones I can really. Yeah. I still haven't figured anything out. It's all a bit of trial and error at the moment.
But you were saying like your proper paintings, you can't really you can't sell them to like cheap people, you know.
I think making art is separate to business really, and you got to figure something out for survival, and art is separate, I find.
Yeah, it's like that famous thing, like that saying, you know, find something you love, you don't work ever again, kind of thing. But then that's difficult.
Yeah, well,
to make
kind
out of art. Yeah.
I don't think that you can really. I think it's you can survive doing any kind of art, I think, but you can't. I don't know. Business is hard in all areas. These
are great drawings, by the way. You're good. You're great.
Yeah, these are nice.
Yeah, you're a great Joss person.
Nice leaves as well.
Yeah, cheers. I've got some. Yeah, I mean, I thought I'd get this up just to show you guys. So
Do
yeah,
you
I
still
mean,
do these?
yeah. So well, some of these are quite recent, but no, not really. Because I just don't have the time. I try to express myself like through animation stuff now on websites. So
Right.
I don't know. Do you want me to go? I don't know if you can see these very well, but like here's an example of.
Yeah, let's
Here's my
talk about
brother,
these.
actually. Yeah, so it's my brother Harry, and I don't know, we haven't really got many more. These are really old. Um,
Yeah.
some portraits from really bad quality photo.
They're good.
Um,
They're good.
but yeah, I should really.
Portraiture can go so wrong, but they look really good, man.
Yeah, cheers.
Yeah.
I should do self portrait. That was many
Mm.
moons ago.
When was this made then? Like
These are
a
going
couple of
back.
years ago, or
This is about 10 years ago.
oh,
This one.
10 years.
Yeah. But some of these are a bit more recent, maybe 4 years ago or so.
Oh, they're nice, but they're nice though. Is it something you just do for? I don't know. You find yourself doing it in times when you have nothing else to do, and you kind of just you end up. I don't know. I find a lot of people make art when they're not expecting themselves to make art, when they're not planning to,
Yeah, that's
and
totally right. Yeah, I find that.
they look down at them at their table and they're like, oh, I'm making pictures now, or like they
Yeah,
say they're
exactly.
working at.
If you're on the phone and you're just doodling and your like number is unrecognizable by the end of the phone call.
Yeah,
These
yeah. No,
surrealist
this
ones
is
are
what
great.
it's. There's a lot of different types of drawing here as well. Like
Yeah,
you got like a broad range of things.
yeah, I know. It's yeah. I mean, like this one, for example, of my friend Tom. This was like all done in Photoshop, and so you can see like I don't know, you can't really
Yeah,
zoom
this
it.
is done on a computer.
Yeah, so
You can see like
obviously
like individual hair
the hairs and
follicles.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got myself a
That's
drawing tablet, and it's like a 32-inch drawing tablet. So I think the Cintiq was like way too expensive, but it's the XP Pen Pro, and it's just so nice because I started off with the Intuos one. I don't know if you guys have.
I had one of those. I had one of those at uni, and it's like the drawing space is like half the size of an A5 piece of paper, isn't it? But
Yeah,
that fancy one you've had, that's how many inches did you say it was again?
32.
32. Oh, so that's bigger than an A4 piece of paper, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's much
like
nicer to have like a big open area. But no, I remember. Yeah, I remember like drawing really tiny in one of those tiny tablet things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. It's good times. Yeah, I had a friend who used to who did caricature art, and he used to use the exactly same tablet, like a little Intuos one. But it is lovely to have like a bigger space to work on.
Yeah, because for me it just didn't match up. And I use it for like colouring in and stuff. But if you want to actually sketch out something, you need to actually see what you're sketching as you're drawing.
That must have set you back a pretty penny.
Yeah, well actually no, it's only about £500 I think off Amazon. But yeah, it's the XP Pen Pro. Yeah, so that you can obviously see what you're drawing as you're drawing it, and that's a lot more intuitive for someone who's used to obviously not looking down and then looking up at the screen. Yeah, it's much better. Yeah, highly recommend it.
I'll have to link to it in the description. Yeah, somebody at my work was getting into kind of illustrative stuff, and they brought like recently, and they brought a tablet with a screen, and yeah, I couldn't get over how cheap it was there either. They've become like a lot more affordable.
Yeah, it's good. It's worth it. I mean, if you got the money, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? It's I don't know. It's your end game as well, because like I use it as a second monitor now.
Yeah.
If I knew I was going to get into this sort of web development stuff, I might not have invested.
I've been thinking of getting one actually.
This Gareth Hines guy, he did an entire comic like this, using like an Apple tablet, and just like a pen. Yeah, I was blown away by that.
What about the David Hockney paintings?
Oh, he's done some digital stuff, hasn't he?
Mate, he did a whole Royal Academy exhibition.
Yeah,
huge ones.
And it was all digital. I thought he just did like a few.
He did it on his iPad.
Oh, wicked!
Yeah, literally.
I'll chuck some of those up on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking of getting one for commercial work, and because I mean, I'm finding it hard to compete with the whole just how easy and how much better it is, how much better things look on Photoshop. But also, like, I just prefer analog art. It's like I prefer to go and look at some impressionist paintings. I just think that, you know, I don't know. I just prefer that kind of rustic. It's almost rustic these days compared to a Photoshop image or like a digital image.
It reminds me of the whole like arguments people on photography had. Like they had some tutors that were like digital photography is the future, and they had some tutors who were using these like ancient cameras with like a massive like thing they put in the back, like a massive screen. One of my friends got one of those. Like he spent like $1,000 on it on eBay or something. But they're each kind of like different mediums. They're not going anywhere.
Well, yeah, there's a whole big trend with taking photographs with the those
wind-up cameras.
You see them. I mean, people put a photo on Instagram and then they put a retro filter on it. You know what I mean? Like everyone wants that old. It's very unusual.
What was I gonna say? But in terms of speed, there's like no contest. All the concept art is done in Photoshop and digitally because it's so much faster. And
yeah, there's really
I was watching a YouTube video recently as well, and a lot of concept art for games and stuff at the moment. They're not even bothering to draw perspective grids or anything like that. They're making the models in 3D, and then they're finding like a nice angle, and then they're just painting over a 3D model. And like setting up the lighting so it's all correct and stuff as well. So they're able to like rapidly produce these like big landscapes or like landscapes with like characters fighting and stuff. And if they don't like the angle, they can move it and then paint over it again. And yeah, I'll chuck a link in the video description. But it was basically like a lecture this guy was giving on the state of concept art currently and how it's all about and how it's all about speed and these different concept art studios are competing with each other. So everything's blocked out. Everything's blocked out in like Blender or something like that, and then they just paint over the Blender render.
Yeah, totally.
So I think the next piece of work I do, I am going to do the same instead of messing around drawing perspective grids and stuff in Photoshop like I've been doing. And also, what was I going to say? I saw an artist in Amsterdam 4 years ago. She did all of her abstract compositions in Blender or like a similar 3D program. Then she projected it down onto a canvas and she used an airbrush and painted it just from the projection. So you look, so it's like a painting, like in a traditional medium, like you're saying, but it's like so perfect. It like messes with your eyes a bit. Like there's no way you could achieve that. But like drawing out a perspective grid or messing around like that, you know, like you can see that it's so perfect. It's come from a computer, but it hasn't come from a computer because it's just been projected and she's painted it with an airbrush. So I'll chuck some of those images up on the screen and I'll put a link in the description. Yeah. I can't remember the artist's name, but I'll chuck it in the description. Anyway, that was another tangent. Charlie, have you got something to show us?
Actually, yeah. I had a couple of things, just open tabs here that I was going to go through. We kind of skipped over. I forgot to show you through these other conversations we had about AR. But I've got an AR one and an Apple Glass one. But I was going to show you some examples, just the sort of things I was heading towards in regards to like personal projects and stuff.
Something that I can certainly relate to. However, I can't help but imagine
how cool it would be me and Dan can hear it.
Camera that can
good.
Yeah, I can hear this.
Some are saying that cameras might start to make their way onto the Apple Glass as they become more popular and widely accepted. But this is strictly speculation, so only time will tell.
I'm not sure how relevant this part is.
Charging of the batteries of the Apple Glass is said to happen through the use of a designated charging stand or through the use of a wireless charging case. Both would be a suitable companion to the glasses, and seeing as the first models are expected to have a battery life on the shorter side, having a convenient charging dock
I'm just going to I'm not going to play that one because I don't think it's a good example.
It'll definitely be wireless. It'll definitely be wireless in terms of the charging.
Yeah, but if I think this one.
No futzing with the phone. All the information on the map, the street names, the directions, right there in front of you. Notice that you also see the map, so that way you stay oriented. You can start to see nearby places, so you see what's around you. And just for fun, our team's been playing with an idea of adding a helpful guide like that there.
Yeah,
so that it can show you the way.
I'm not
there she goes.
Sure what the last bit
Pretty cool.
is doing, but yeah,
that's really cute having a little the fox showing around. Kids will love that.
It's probably not the best example to show the potential of AR, because that's quite mixing gamification of reality isn't the best when you're trying to cross the road kind of thing. But the practicality of it, like with Google Maps having just arrows straight in front of you where you don't have to be holding up your phone, walking around and trying I don't know, obviously AR with your phone, it's just an extra step. You have to get it out and hold your phone up, and you're looking at your phone instead of what's in front of you. But obviously if you had that on, you're wearing your glasses and you can just see the overlay immediately without having to press any buttons or, I think that could be really useful. And obviously people, are worried about all of the extra adverts that are going to pop up, so everywhere you look, you can see that, those shop icons popping up and you're going to have adverts. But I don't know. Maybe you can turn that off. I don't.
Or you'll get viruses and stuff, and you'll have stuff popping up on your VR the whole time.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Not, but
nightmare scenario.
Yeah, that would be. But hopefully that's not the case. I mean, I think even apps that aren't connected to the internet are still going to be super useful. Just for any sort of educational app, for example.
The possibilities is just endless.
Yeah,
it's hard to say where it will go until we can we have the technology in our hands, sort of thing. That's when the real innovation will start happening.
Yeah, but entertainment purposes for AR, there was one I really wanted to show you about a design for a game for Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
So this is quite a recent one, and I'll play it. I can't hear it for some reason. I haven't worked it out, but let's just play it for you guys. It's a minute long, but this looks super, super fun.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, he'll get into it in a second. You'll see, and it's the perfect medium as well, because obviously ghosts are the way the images are displayed on the glass display, so it's perfect. And this is obviously made somewhere running around like it does form factor, obviously. But it's just it's much better here. I don't know. But yeah, it's fun to think about.
Wicked. Yeah, possibilities kind of endless. Dan, I wonder what impact this will have on performance art and kind of installation art for artists and stuff. I guess
I don't know.
you'll have installations. You won't have installations being built in kind of physical reality more. You'll have more kind of CGI and VR installations being made for art galleries and stuff. Because there'll be less of a space commitment.
Yeah, so if you want to scale something
Those
up,
already exist things.
In an art gallery, if you want to have an installation that you walk around and walk through, it's quite a big the turbine hall and stuff. It's quite a big space commitment. But
I think virtual reality is gonna. It wouldn't even be the same thing. It wouldn't even be the same category of that kind of art. Wouldn't even there'd be entire new genres of art for this sort of thing. I think.
Yeah, 100%. Oh yeah, I've seen that where they're using the Oculus Rift to paint stuff in 3D and stuff. Yeah, right. What we're kind of getting at.
Yeah, so you could do this, couldn't you, in AR? But maybe something that was liberating earlier that we were talking about, in communism, but obviously for the individual, is being able to graffiti, for example, on buildings or whatever, basically in AR. So you walk around, and if you're subscribed to a certain artist, you can go walk around that city and see people's graffiti. What's that famous graffiti artist?
Banksy.
It's Banksy, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So like everyone could be a Banksy, you know, and it frees up the
Everyone is a Banksy.
art. Yeah, everyone is. Well,
So
yeah,
many.
yeah. You know, we could be. You know,
It'd be interesting to like walk around, go on holiday and walk around the city and put a VR headset on, which would be kind of like tiny, like it'll be like, you know, tiny like a Google Lens, and have like every surface be covered. That'd be cool.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, well, yeah, and it's important to draw the distinction between VR and AR. With, you know, because obviously with the VR, it's kind of it's shut off, like, you know, the video that we just saw. But obviously with AR, like you say,
Oh, yeah.
glass, it will be a bit more, user friendly.
Yeah, 100%. That's wicked.
So I think that's a big, I think that's pretty exciting to think about.
Yeah, again, it's kind of like, it's hard to say where it will go until we've got it in our hands. There's more kind of innovation going on. It's almost like the entry, it's too expensive for people with no money, basically, to get into. But once it does become super cheap, you know,
actually,
we'll see some wicked stuff coming out of it.
Yeah, you've reminded me of like another form factor that if you were to use AR glasses and go around like graffiti and everything, people would have to be able to create the content. And how do you do that? Like, do you use these controllers, or do you just use your hands? And that's something I wanted to show you with the Oculus Quest here. Is a good example. I won't play the sound because it's not necessary, but basically this guy's just showing hand tracking, so you don't actually have to have controllers anymore. You can control things in VR with, you know, different gestures. You can pitch or point, and you can use those as replacements for clicks on buttons or like mouse buttons or trackpads. So whatever gesture you do, you know, and you've got examples here: bursting bubbles, or whatever you want to do, grab a bubble or pull a chain, or even type in VR or AR, but using virtual keyboards. So like we were talking about having different art installations around the whole world, and you don't actually have to have a physical, you know, installation. The same can be said for domestic like environments and you know, utilities. Like, for example, instead of going to your boiler to turn down the heating, you have like a thermostat. So you can go to the thermostat, and it's missing out that step of having to actually go.
You have like an app you can just use or something.
Yeah. So if you've got, you know, if you don't mind wearing AR glasses like 24/7, you have unlimited access to, you know, to a TV, for example, can just be a virtual placement 3D tracked into that location that's tied into, you know, your physical environment. You walk into a new room and you have a clock appear on the wall or whatever, you know, whatever you need.
I'm thinking about this in terms of like just purely like boring admin as well. We use like a keyboard and mouse to like send emails and stuff. But if we can track like our fingers and human movements more precisely, I guess it'll make typing faster and stuff. Yeah, just in like the absolute like lowest like boring terms.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of impossible to forecast with any clarity and be like precise about it, you know, because it's just like it's such a huge area and it's opening up like it's opening so many doors. Who knows where it'll go in like 20 years or whatever.
Well, did I mention the futurologist Ray Kurzweil earlier?
I've heard of him before.
Futurologist.
I get a link from the video that I'm referring to, but he basically talks about transforming like organic or like, you know, just solid matter in the universe into something called computronium. So the same way we can synthetically, you know, replicate like functions or functionality using like you know, binary digits in a computer system. we've transformed that into a silicon chip, and we can store information, synthetically, that can represent anything, just a way of communicating something and storing it. He's thinking maybe in future we can like store information in organic matter. So there's a couple of other links that might be interesting. It's way off the topic of art, but I think we can program certain molecules in H2O. So something that I think the blog I read was like a water droplet being like a song or something. You can store a song in a drop of water.
In layman terms, it's kind of like 3D printing, but with carbon, with like matter. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's like elemental 3D printing. But even more than that, yeah, you could like encode information on stuff. I guess you could like encode information on like a diamond or something.
Yes, yeah.
It's
So
kind of
it's-
this is a bit of a tangent as well. It kind of reminds me of did either of you ever play this old game, System Shock 2? It came out in 1999 before Half-Life. I'm about to ruin the ending for you if you like spoiler tags. Basically, there's a rogue AI. I'm like completely simplifying this whole story. Takes over a spaceship with like a warp drive. Right at the end of the game, and it's a bit of like a shock, like twist, like oh shit. And it's like a malevolent AI. So it uses the warp drive on the ship to start like rewriting reality and like changing like matter. So you're in part of a ship, and then you turn around, and it's just like completely like warped, and it's like stepping into a new reality. So it's kind of like it's kind of like what
that's like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah. Oh, is that happening there as well?
Yeah, in the film I remember that scene, and they activate the warp drive, and then each time like they boost up, like the whole thing changes, and they just become food, or they become like clothes, or any sort of.
Oh yeah, in the film. Yeah. So your Playtopia company that you've kind of made, with your VR experiences, I saw that you were taking your VR headset and going down to like your local market and stuff. Kind of reminds me of where I live as well, because my house is like right next to a market like that.
Yeah.
And then you're like charging people to come and do these VR experiences you've designed, which really makes me think of as a kid going camping. There'd be one place we went, there was a pub down the road, and they had House of the Dead. So every day we were down there playing House of the Dead, putting like a quid in each time to try and beat the game. Wow. So kind of like, where do you kind of see that going ideally? Like your Playtopia company. Do you think you'd like to kind of do something a bit more entrepreneurial and kind of set up your own company and work for yourself rather than kind of working for someone else? I know I've kind of got like dreams and aspirations to kind of make my own company one day, maybe do like web development and kind of work for myself, because it always seems like a much better deal to work for yourself than work for a company. I know, like, especially for my dad. That's
pretty obvious though, isn't
it? Yeah. Like my dad's an architect, and he earns like so much more money working for himself than he did working for a company,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the potential's there for anything. Me personally, my boss actually asked me the other day. He said, would you ever consider starting up a web development, company or like agency yourself? Because that's kind of what my boss's company is becoming, like a small agency. Because he used to be, developing basically on his own for, I think it's like been like 6 or more years now, for different companies, but also freelancing. And he's got to the stage where he can do that. And for me, web development, I don't think I'd ever do that, like on my own. And I said to him, because of the same reason why I've come out of private commissions for like portraits, because it's dealing with clients, and you eventually evolve out of it. It's something, you master that skill and you want to sort of move on. But I think something like on the bleeding edge of technology, like AR and VR. VR is kind of even like retro now. I think the Oculus, the first edition, the developer edition, came out in like 2014. Palm Lucky was so it's even that's kind of antiquated, like, and now we have like hand tracking, so you don't even need physical controllers, and it will all break down into like these smaller and smaller parts. So I want to look ahead to the future, not so much with like Playtopia, because that is kind of like a current thing just to try out stuff at the market, like you say. I want to look towards AR, And actually, like I said earlier, with learning these other programming languages like Racket, I'm trying to find a way to tie in AR with my current work. So I spoke to my boss as well about this. Could we, like, I did a little 3D version of his logo and said, like, could we add that into the website some way, make some sort of like interactive things. And I think a current trend or predicted trend of 2020 or 2021 is going to be micro interactions because of people's attention spans. So there's more opportunity to bring in more animation and more 3D elements as the web gets faster and people have better connections with 5G, another whole topic that we will not even touch because we're going to go off track again. But yeah, the web opens up lots of possibilities there. And I think if I'm going to go for any sort of company in the future, it's going to be a little while away yet. But I think if I do, it will be AR and it will be which is why I'm interested as well in websites, because something called progressive web apps now. I don't know if you've heard of it, but basically it's like having an app but online.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Like really complicated websites. Because they've kind of like websites have almost kind of like stalled at the moment with Facebook like controlling most of the internet traffic and stuff. And I've seen a lot of people talking about in terms of YouTube, the future is affiliate links in the description of videos from like influencers. So like Kim Kardashian will post like a video which like so many people see, it's unbelievable. But in the links, there's a link that you click and it goes to this like amazing website which has got like an AR experience, like you say, or something. People think like apps are completely dead, and these links that go to like extremely complicated websites are the future.
Yeah. Are you talking about Tech Lead by any chance?
Yes, I watched him. Yeah.
Yes.
I love how you know exactly who I'm talking about straight away.
Yeah. He knows his stuff. Yeah. Google, X, Facebook.
yeah. He's got some great videos.
But if he's a millionaire, why is he still living at his mum's? I don't know.
It's kind of like a running joke he's got, isn't he? And he's really pushing the whole I can show you how to be a YouTuber for a $300 package, and I'm a bit like, can you? So but no, he definitely knows his stuff. Like, I'm not knocking him in that respect at all.
So with me in regards to that, I show another quick example on my screen here. In the future, there won't be any necessarily physical locations, which is what we kind of referred to earlier with the whole COVID thing and Zoom taking off. Even though it doesn't replace human presence, with things like volumetric capture with AR, which will require cameras to do that, you can have like telepresence with someone anywhere and actually see them in front of you, which is another project I'm working on, making myself into like a virtual avatar with AI algorithms as like a virtual chatbot kind of thing.
Did you make it?
But this, it's like a virtual space.
Nice.
Yeah, so this is one Henry was referring to at the market. So people basically stand here on this start position, but because you're wearing a VR headset and it's inside-out tracking, so you walk in a physical space underneath two gazebos, and you sort of land on this one, and then you look down and you can see below you, and then you can look over the edge, and you kind of get to the end, and that's a VR experience.
Oh, this is really cool.
It's a quid each time, so Charlie makes some money out of it.
It's a quid each time. What, you jump on that and then you jump on that?
Yeah, and then you just like take the headset off, and some people can even like go on to the first step, because it's the first time you try VR it does overwhelm your senses, and you sort of look down, you've got to quickly jump on this pad on the screen and jump onto the next one. But yeah, sorry.
Can you fall? What happens if you fall?
Oh right, yeah. So that's going to be my next program feature. This is where JavaScript comes in. So if you're standing in this virtual proximity, the headset's tracking in this location, and you're still standing here when these go red, the whole environment will be animated to move upwards to give you the illusion that you're falling.
Honestly, I would do this thing just for the experience of falling. I think that'd be really fun.
Yeah, I've tried.
I don't know. For some reason, I find the experience of failing at this more exciting than the experience of like solving the puzzle. It looks like there's a sort of puzzle to solve, right?
Exactly.
But
Yeah, that's right.
in
Yeah.
virtual reality, you can, let's say, you can just jump.
Yeah.
You can jump as high as you want, and there's no real rules, isn't there? And that's pretty interesting. Like
It's
you're
like it's like the
not
old
limited by the real world.
it's like the old Tomb Raider games where people used to make Tomb Raider, like they used to make Lara Croft like fall off stuff on purpose just so they could
Yeah,
like do like the death animation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, I remember that. Oh my god, going back to PS1. But yeah, talking about Dan, like attempting what you can do, tempting fate kind of thing. I took it to the pub once, and all these guys were loving it. And there's an old man who tried it. He was like 70 odd, and he put it on, and he was like walking along with his walking stick. I don't know if you can see my mouse here, but he made the first two obstacles and got to the finish line, and then he just carried on walking off the edge. And he was like looking around, and like Jim, you're actually off the edge. Look down. But it's quite funny. But yeah, having a virtual space like this instead of an office space where people can virtually meet with volumetric presence and stuff, so any employees you have or any experiences you want, it's all hosted online. And especially with 5G coming along now, again, another subject for debate, but that brings so many advantages for basically zero latency. So it will help doctors do remote surgery, because at the moment I think the lowest we've got is like 0.03 milliseconds or 0.3 milliseconds. But that latency is enough to make a mistake on a microscopic level when you're dealing with like cutting veins and stuff and arteries and trying to stitch people up. That delay will be removed with 5G, so it will open up basically real-time telepresence where you can perform physical tasks remotely. So yeah, that's why that's the long shot for me. If I'm ever going to get into something for myself, it will be online. And probably augmented reality instead of VR, because I think augmented reality from a business standpoint there's more opportunity there.
Wiki, yeah. It's like amazing,
Nice.
amazing.
So do you have to wear these glasses to do that game?
No, you can use. I have a VR headset. I have the Vive Focus Plus, which is like a standalone headset, like the Quest. But it has a commercial license, so you can use it to charge people. Like,
Nice.
Yeah, AR will be the next one. I'll be taking some AR glasses to the market.
Yeah, 100%.
Man. Yeah. Cool.
And hopefully have two-player interactions as well, so you can have examples of you have two people standing opposite each other, both with a pair of AR glasses on, interacting with virtual games just right in front of them. So I don't know how that's going to pan out, but I've got a few ideas.
You see, Henry, when I was talking about other genres, this is kind of what I was thinking of. Like creating another, like there'd be a different genre. This is the kind of thing, it's like this sort of experience, like way up in the sky. It's completely different.
It's gonna establish whole like new genres of installation art and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
no, that's really cool.
Like imagine what like Maria Abramovic.
It's not just a JPEG, is it? The bottom bit. Or... It's
a skybox, isn't it? So it's like a big it's like a
kind of. I have no idea how this works.
Big curved JPEG sort of thing.
It's like a spherical mapping of a JPEG basically.
Cool.
So, yeah, but it is cool. It's kind of like a fake 3D. But yeah, man, it's good. And in fact, that was one of the. If I just quickly again share with you guys, because this is very relevant to like art installations.
Yeah.
And art for A-frame. I think was it A-frame documentation? Let me have a look. A-frame. What am I doing here? A-frame. .io. Okay, that'll do. So it should. I can actually link it. Probably it might be better in the description. They talk about using VR, web VR, to basically have spherical mapping. So you can draw in 3D So when you look around, you can see like a whole landscape, you know. So, but it's really interesting, I think, for art. It's brilliant.
Yeah. So, Charlie, I'm sorry for like the terrible introduction I gave you at the start of the show, but it's
No,
like,
it's fine.
how do I introduce Charlie George? He's a man of many talents. Thanks for coming on to the Empty Gallery YouTube show. This is what we're doing on the show now, is we're interviewing creative people and
Artists, creative people,
artists, creative people,
people of all creative areas.
like shining a light on what people are getting up to, because I don't think people are getting enough props for what they're doing. You know, I feel like people aren't getting the viewership. So hopefully, by doing these interviews, we're working some way towards fixing that issue.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's nice to be able to share what I've been working on and share ideas and plans for the future. It's nice to lay out on the table and just see the possibilities and get your feedback from you guys. That's been good.
Yeah, 100%. But Charlie, no, thanks again for being on the show. And
It's a pleasure, man. Pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. And all of the links we've discussed will be in the description below. Charlie will link to your work. We'll link to Playtopia. And yeah.
Sweet.
All right, thanks, guys. It's the part where everyone says goodbye at the end, all at once.
Okay, yeah.
Bye.
See you later.
See ya.
See you guys later. Bye.